Thanks. They were so kind to ask me to mention some things as being a new practitioner and kind of what you guys might expect. And I was really happy to be able to do that. So what I decided to talk about instead is music, money, and art. So hopefully Randy won't be too angry with me. Could you catch the light just for the front part here? You'll see how it ties in. The front light, I think one of those switches will get the front light. Thank you, thank you. We learn a skill and we become technicians, and it takes a lot of hard work to become a technician, but what does it take to turn that into an art? That is always a confusing and very difficult aspect of learning a skill. How is it that you turn it into an art? And what does that even mean? So to help me to try to explain this really complicated idea, I chose some video clips, really short video clips to show you, just to introduce you to three masters of their craft. So first here we have a carpenter named Sakaguchi.
My name is Hiroshi Sakaguchi. I'm a carpenter. I do a Japanese old house, the countryside, and also I make a new building too.
If you think about a hammer in a philosophical way, or what people would call a commonsensical way, you'd look at the properties the hammer has, the shape it has, the color it has, and Heidegger said that's wrong. If you want to see what a hammer is, you don't think about the properties, you don't describe it, you don't explain it, you pick it up and you start driving nails. And you really only see what the hammer is when you have the skills to hammer well. And without those, the hammer will never really show itself to you.
What does that mean, that the hammer shows itself? It's kind of an odd way to use language. I want to just see if I can flesh that out a little bit. To you and me, maybe I'll just speak for myself, a hammer basically is just a paperweight. I can drive nails, but can I create a house with it? Can I use it in any really, truly efficient way? No, I cannot. The hammer truly becomes a hammer in the hands of a master carpenter. It is, he said the word skill. You're going to hear the word skill a whole lot. It is the skill of the practitioner. It's the skill of the artist that makes the reality of the hammer. For me, it's just a paperweight. For a carpenter, he can build a house that will protect a family against the weather. It's still the same material, right, the hammer, but its meaning changes with skill. And in developing that skill, he creates something. In this case, he's a carpenter, so creates homes, whatever it may be, that perhaps nobody else can quite create in the same way, that has value beyond just a collection of its materials. Next, we have a chef named Leah Chase.
I'm Leah Chase in Duke Chase's restaurant in New Orleans, Louisiana.
She is the quantum of Creole cooking in New Orleans. She is the girl who has the nerve to chastise President Obama for putting a little hot sauce in his gumbo before he tastes it.
Never did I think that would be good enough to serve a president. When I came here, I knew nothing. I'd never been in the inside of a restaurant in my life at 18 years old. Never. I went in this woman's restaurant. She taught me everything. The one thing I learned, to love that restaurant. I learned to love food. I learned to appreciate it. And I always said, this is what I want to do.
She has 60 plus years of experience cooking. People think of recipes. She is the recipe. You know, when we're back there cooking, we never looking in cookbooks. It's just out the head. What we want to cook today, we want to cook tomato and basil soup.
So she becomes the recipe. It isn't necessarily a collection of instructions, but she becomes a recipe. How does that happen? Remember, she said she was 18 years old, knew nothing about cooking. She used some really important words. She used the word love and want. And through that love and want, she spent the time and the sweat and the tears. What she learned from that chef is how to cook, how to put materials together, the basic ideas, even maybe advanced ideas of how to actually technically cook. But there's so much more there when it comes to the art of creating something, the art of serving someone in particular. Next, of course, had to put in some flamenco in there as well, is this brilliant flamenco musician.
Heidegger thought that our highest dignity as human beings, what really set us apart from everything else in the universe, was our capacity to disclose whole new worlds, to open up whole new possibilities.
This gentleman's name is Molina.
Heidegger coined this idea of disclosure to capture something that we're not used to thinking about, and that is the way that things only show themselves when all the conditions of skill and all the relationships between them are possible. And then the experience there is of something opening up, a space of possibilities opening up, a way of inhabiting the world opening up. And it's not like it was there all along. It's not like the world of jazz music was somewhere there in the Middle Ages, say, or in the Greek world, just waiting to be discovered. It was something that had to have a space provided for it.
Dice que no quiero verla, porque voy a tener que matarla y no tengo valor para perderla.
So it's a disappointing they didn't translate, but I have to translate. It says, with that look on his face, he says, I can't see her. I can't see her, because if I see her, I'm going to have to kill her. And if I don't have the valor to lose her. I mean, imagine trying to express that pain through art. What happened there? Is he literally talking about that he feels like he's going to kill somebody? Or does he have some terrible news that he might destroy somebody emotionally? Is it figurative? Is it a metaphor? There is this bridge between reality and art that is difficult to explain, difficult to even understand that metaphor. It takes work to be able to even understand it. I want to finish this video here.
These worlds, coherent, whole, organized ways of being humans in activities, at objects in the world, all of that requires something to open it up.
So he's talking about a reality. Art creates a space. It creates a possibilities, a reality. And what opens up that space in the world, that creating of reality of meaning, is skill, a very high level of skill. And we see it in art, of course, and we also see it in what we typically don't call art, including things like what we do in manual therapy. You can elevate that beyond techniques into something more like an art.
Que la quiero, porque esta noche yo tengo mi corazón prisionero y sus oídos de luces como dos candelas, su pene tan fino como el terciopelo, mi novia sellada de nombre Manuela, y en cambio la tuya será
That ending is really important. He hands the guitar back to whoever let him borrow it. The artist thanks the guy that handed him the guitar, not the other way around. The artist is thankful for the opportunity to do what he loves to do. And then at the very end, he kind of grabs his head and says, "Where am I?" Do you think at any moment Molina was thinking about the words he was singing, the notes he was playing? Do you think he was thinking about those details? Not at all. Something was flowing through him. Now, had he practiced that? Sure, he's played that a billion times, but that meaning, that truth was flowing through him. The reason why I want to show you these artists and these masters of their crafts, as a very quick review, We have a carpenter that uses incredible skill to create things that are much more than just a typical structure, much more than something you just walk into and walk out of. It has deeper meaning. You have a chef who puts herself into the food. She is the recipe, right? When you eat her food, you are basically tasting her personality. You're experiencing her being in a very real sense. And you have a musician who is expressing just profound ideas in such a way that he almost disappears as himself as he's doing it. His own personality almost disappears as he's doing it. What is this line that's between all three of these is this idea that you become a conduit for truth. If you're an artist, that is the difference between a technician and an artist. A student who's just practicing scales and chords and knows how to read music and tries to play the instrument versus someone who actually performs for an audience. That artist becomes a conduit for truth. This is a metaphor for life. This is not just art. You can be an artist in, frankly, anything that you wish to be in, including something like manual therapy. When you treat somebody, you are becoming a conduit for their better health. You're becoming a conduit for the truth of, there's something wrong that we can fix, and you have to trust me, and I'll do the best that I absolutely can to make you feel better. And there's this truth, so much deep truth in that it's hard to even put into words. The idea is that if you are honest and you become a conduit for this truth, not only will people trust you, they'll pay you a lot of money for that because there are not a lot of people that do that. There are a lot of technicians. How many massage therapists, and I hesitate to even call us massage therapists, but how many massage therapists do you know you can describe as an artist? I know a few right over there, right? And you guys know that too. And that's what we aspire to as practitioners. We want to move from the technician to the artist. That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice. More than anything, it takes love. It takes devotion. The idea that you serve someone else. You have the privilege to serve someone else. And in our society, nobody is a master of anybody else. So when I say we serve somebody, we don't serve somebody as a slave, right? We serve somebody and they pay us for it. And there's this idea that I've been a college professor for almost 20 years. I've met a lot of young people, and young generations have this weird relationship with money. There's almost a guilt issue with money. Am I wrong? You guys kind of see this maybe? Maybe you guys don't. That would be wonderful. Money has important meaning, and I want to shift gears here to this idea of money. Just a few quotes. There are a lot of different meanings to this topic. The lack of money is the root of all evil. Mark Twain always has a way of twisting things around. If women didn't exist, all the money in the world would have no meaning. I don't think that's disparaging to women. I think that's more like the weakness of a man's heart, actually. Money can't buy love, but it improves your bargaining position. So lots of ideas of the importance of money, but when we're actually serving someone, we're actually trading, in a sense, the topic gets much more serious and sometimes a little uncomfortable. Money won't create success. The freedom to make it will. So it's not the money itself. In and of itself, money has no sense and no value. It's how you use that tool, right? If you have an incredible skill and you can help somebody that can't find help anybody else, they want to pay you for it. You shouldn't feel in any way, shape, or form uncomfortable asking a proper fee for that. And that's something that I run into, especially with young people, a great deal. Income is a result of one's productivity. And in our case, skill. You can put the word skill in there as well. One's productivity and the value that people place on that productivity. If someone pays you a proper fee for what you do, they are valuing. That's a moral question. They are valuing what you do. It's a way of saying, thank you, I love you for what you're doing. Here is your fee. This is not just a tool that we pass back and forth that has meaning, that you help them, you serve them, and they are happy to give you that money in trade for what you serve them with. This is kind of a long quote. The idea is that this idea of capitalism, or this idea that you can pay for a service, pay for a fee, is a relatively recent invention. Capitalism is relatively new in human history. Prior to capitalism, the way people amassed great wealth was by looting, plundering, and enslaving their fellow man. Only in modern times, within the last several hundred years, you have this idea where you can become wealthy by serving your fellow man. And that is what I aspire to do. We all have to make our decisions. That's what I aspire to do. Not necessarily to become wealthy. Wealth is a funny word. It doesn't necessarily mean a lot of money. But to become wealthy really means that you have the freedom to do what you want to do. You want to help more people? If you're wealthy, it's easier to do that. If you're starving, if you can't pay your rent, you can't fix your car, you can't get to your clients, right? If you want to have a family, you want to have children, I'm not going to see my children suffer because of my art, right? I got to feed my kids, so there has to be this sense that you're compensated for your very, very high level of skill. I want to challenge you guys if you haven't done this. I didn't do this before I graduated. I only received treatment from neurosomatic therapists, right? I didn't have a way of comparing with other therapists and how they treated. Once you go out into the real world, you pay $35 for a massage, you pay $65 for a massage, and you realize that is nothing like what we do. It's nothing like what they do. We do something very, very different than rubbing people to make them feel nice. We actually are producing changes. It is such a very different thing, and there is a proper fee for that. You should never be embarrassed to ask for that proper fee, and it's something that I come across with young people a great deal. I want to leave you with one last idea here. Back to Molina. Molina, by the way, if you guys know the movie Kill Bill, the flamenco music in Kill Bill, it's this guy. So you might find the music familiar if you don't necessarily find him familiar. I'm not going to play Kill Bill. So that word compás needs a little explanation. Compás is like the form of a piece of music. It's like saying blues or jazz. So if you ask what is the difference between blues and jazz, what is the difference between rhythm and blues, etc., in Spanish music they call that compás, which means the rhythm and the form of the music. So the interviewer said, yesterday you asked me, what is compás?
Una medida. Y no estoy de acuerdo con eso.
So that's a beautiful thing. He said, I said the compás is a rhythm. He said yesterday, and after he thought about it, he says, that answer didn't make me happy. That's really someone who's being very, very honest. When someone in an interview gives you an answer and says, I was wrong about that, I want to correct that. He said the compás is a rhythm, and he says that's not really exactly right. Here he makes a distinction between technique and art, right? Compás is the rhythm, that is technique. Now he's going to explain the art of it. I'll back it up just a little bit.
Y no estoy de acuerdo con eso. El compás es una forma de hablar. Una forma de hablar. Una forma de besar. Una forma de abrazar. Eso es el compás.
The form of the music is the way you live your life. You walk a certain way, you embrace a certain way, you kiss a certain way. What I want to inspire in you guys, and it's something that I always am striving for, it's a never-ending struggle actually, is to go from technician to artist. It's such a complicated and beautiful thing. It isn't something that switches over like this, It's something that takes a long time, a lot of devotion, a lot of pain, a lot of time, but it will happen if you care, if you love, it'll happen for you. And it's a really beautiful and rather mysterious thing. So I hope you all find that road. I want to congratulate you and welcome you to the fold. Thank you very much.